Hey everybody, time for my breakdown and picks, UFC 299 edition. So what I do is, if you guys don't know and haven't seen this before, on my SiriusXM show, I pick who's going to win and lose. Simple. This one is more about gambling and what the odds tell me and who's worth putting a bet on. Not just the fighter, but the over-under, stuff like that. So there are plenty of times when I think somebody's going to win, but they're just not worth a bet. I did it last time with Henry Cejudo and Merab Dvalishvili. For people who watch this, I went the only sensible bet is Henry Cejudo at, I think it was, minus 2.5 or something. That's the only sensible bet. On my radio show, I said Merab's going to win, which he did. But for gambling purposes, if you're going to bet, you got to bet on Henry Cejudo at minus 2.5. He's just, there's no money on betting on Merab, so why do that? So that's why that night with that card, if you listen on SiriusXM, I went 5-0. If you listen on the gambling side, I went 4-1 because there's certain people that just aren't worth betting on. What is very interesting about this, when I look at 299, the odds are through the roof on almost every single fight. Meaning, even if you're kind of, this is going to be a close one, at minus 2.5, you have to be an idiot to bet on this person. Right? And I'm sorry, Henry Cejudo was plus 2.5. I think Merab was like minus 250, whatever it was. The idea that, this is a close fight, you got to go with the odds. And so many of them on this card, when I looked at the odds, I couldn't believe it. Because here's the theme we're dealing with. And someone on social media that I saw said newcomers versus veterans. Kind of. And I think and the reason I say kind of is these aren't new guys. Jack Della Maddalena has been around for a long time. So is Song Yadong. Now, none of them have broken through to the elite level, so you could argue they're new at the elite level. But number one, the new guys aren't new, and the old guys aren't that old. So the reason I think the odds makers are so skewed on this one is, well, number one, they change the odds depending on who people are betting on. They want people to bet equally on both sides, so when people bet heavy on this side, they change the odds to kind of fill up the other one, all right? You want it even. And it could be they're reacting to the bets they're getting. Certainly possible. The other side is they've just bought in a little too much into the young eat the old, which they generally do, but as we saw last weekend with Rosenstrike versus Gaziev didn't really have the experience to be in a 5-round main event, even if it's at the Apex, against an experienced guy. And that fight was a wipeout and ended at the end of round 4. And I picked Rosenstrike, who was almost a 2-1 dog. By the time it went down, I was like, he's too experienced for Gaziev. So every now and then, you get that, well, the old dog still has some teeth, and the new guy isn't quite ready for the pressure and ready for the big lights. And also, this is a pay-per-view, a big one. That's really stacked. So you might walk into the Apex going, yeah, I'm on the main card, but, it's almost like sparring in terms of the pressure. Not a lot of people here. Lights aren't that bright. 299, they literally are. So I think that mental side is going to be a bit bigger with a big card. So that's kind of my logic, and I'll walk you through every single fight. By the way, I really appreciate all the comments and everything you guys are saying about me coming back to YouTube. One of the reasons I'm back is they cut my radio show down from 5 days to 2 days, so I just have more time. I had no time to do anything. Doing 3 hours a day on SiriusXM by myself. And I'm yelling my head off about MMA 3 hours a day, and I'm like, ugh. It's just hard to then do anything else. So there's that. And you guys seem to really appreciate it, so I'm going to keep doing it. But it's also that idea of just being able to put the mental effort into it, because this is not. This is what I do. This is my love. This is my life. But it also just takes a lot of energy, and I go into it pretty hard. So anyway, I appreciate all the comments and all the kind words. So, and I will keep doing it. So I'm not going anywhere. So like and share and subscribe and all that fun stuff. So anyway, I'm just in with the main card, although I can't help it. Mateusz Gamrot, Rafael dos Anjos. Jesus H. Mateusz Gamrot, a 4-1 favorite, almost 5-1, minus 440-ish, depending on your book. My God. The over is huge at minus 3.5. So the odds makers are going really hard on Mateusz Gamrot and really hard on him not being able to finish Rafael dos Anjos. The only thing you could do to make money is take Rafael dos Anjos or take the under. If you really believe in Mateusz Gamrot, he does have real power. I think the smart bet would be the under. Right? It's the only way you're going to make money. Could you make money on Rafael dos Anjos? Sure, but I don't think he really has a frame to make 55 comfortably anymore. And, Mateusz Gamrot's doing great things, but the over is -3.5, and the under is +250. Take the under. Maybe Mateusz Gamrot obviously does what he was able to do to Beneil Dariush and finishes him. Right, so I would go with the under on the Rafael dos Anjos fight simply for the money. You won't make money anywhere else. What else do we have? Jailton Almeida, Curtis Blaydes. The over on this one is only -150, which I thought it would be like the Rafael dos Anjos fight, where it would be over, just because Curtis Blaydes is very hard to finish on the ground, and Jailton Almeida is not going to knock him out. And so I think Jailton Almeida is going to try and take him down and submit him. Well, Curtis Blaydes has excellent wrestling. This has the makings of a comparatively boring, long slog. I think the over is the best bet there. It's a coin flip fight, by the way. Both guys are -110 on DraftKings. I'm looking at best fight odds, and that's about what it is. It's a coin flip almost everywhere. My gut tells me Curtis Blaydes, just because he's so rangy and so awkward and difficult, but I think the smart bet is the over at -150. So anyway, moving on. Petr Yan, Song Yadong. On to the main card. This is experience and versatility versus momentum, where Petr Yan is the more versatile fighter. He can do more things than Song Yadong. He's taken on better talent. Hasn't had all the success in the world. That is a huge part of Petr Yan's story. Is look, he's taken on Aljamain Sterling twice. One time was a DQ. The other one was for the title. Lost to Sugar Sean O'Malley in a disputed decision. Lost to Merab Dvalishvili, but get in line. Everybody's losing to Merab Dvalishvili right now. And the one win in that 5-fight stretch is Corey Sandhagen, who's an absolute monster. So what I always try to look at when I look at a fighter like this is he's lost to the best of the best of the best. He's never had a step-down performance where he fought a guy who was on the way up and kind of looked like, you know what, he just didn't look good. He hasn't had one of those yet. Could this be the one? Maybe. But when you look at the other side of it, Song Yadong has been, on a tear recently, doing very good things. But when you look at his resume, who has he lost to? Corey Sandhagen. Biggest name that he's fought in this win in the last 6 fights, where he's 5-1. That one loss was Corey Sandhagen, and that was a doctor stoppage. That was an ass whooping. Lost to Kyler Phillips. The rest of the names are a bunch of who is that, right? Did beat Marlon Vera. I thought Marlon Vera won that fight. I thought it was a terrible decision, if I remember correctly. But there are no step-up names there. So you're looking at a guy on his win list. He stepped up against Corey Sandhagen and did not work out well. Marlon Moraes way past it by the time he fought Song Yadong. He's big. He's aggressive. He moves forward very, very well. The problem is that Petr Yan is a bit more technical, and he does have a decent takedown. So if you get an aggressive guy who does tend to carry his hands a little bit wide, that's going to create a lot of opportunities for Petr Yan, and the takedown's going to be there against a guy who's always bringing his hips toward you. This is one of those where I don't have a ton of faith in. I have more faith in Petr Yan than I do Song Yadong in this fight. It's pretty much a coin flip across the board. The only odds I'm seeing on over-under, the over is -298, which is pretty smart. I think this one goes to decision. But I'm going with Petr Yan by decision. I think he does have it in him to beat the Song Yadongs of the world. Does he beat the Merabs of the world? Does he beat the contenders anymore? Probably not, but I don't yet put Song Yadong in that class. So I got to go with Petr Yan. Smart money's probably on decision. But you might want to throw a side bet on the under, just because right now at DraftKings all I see is an over bet, and it's -298, and it's 2.5 rounds, so they're betting it goes the distance. Throw some money at a finish, but I would say your smart bet is Petr Yan. Gilbert Burns, Jack Della Maddalena. Jack Della Maddalena, -155. Now, that's on DraftKings. When I look across the board at best fight odds, which gives me all of them, you can get +145-ish. Now, it was higher, I want to say, yesterday. When I was looking at, I think people are putting money on Gilbert Burns. I think he's a smart bet at plus money. Why? Last time out against Bilal Muhammad, he went for a takedown early and really messed up his shoulder. And you could see it really obviously in the fight that he was fighting compromised. Also, Belal Muhammad's a great fighter. Really, really good. He should be fighting for a title soon if there's any justice in the world. But is a very different kind of guy, Jack Della Maddalena. He's a big 170-pounder. He's rangy. He's a good striker. He's got a lot of gifts. But once again, we're in this category of tested quantity, who's had some trouble, versus untested quantity, taking a big step up. I didn't like, by the way, Jack Della Maddalena in the Basil Hafez fight. I didn't like him at all. I thought he fought really poorly. I think he fought a guy, it was late notice, maybe he didn't take him seriously, but the issue there is it shows that mental kind of up and down that really great fighters don't have. Really great fighters, and I do put Gilbert Burns in that category, tend to fight really consistently. Yes, he lost to Belal Muhammad. He did not mentally fall apart against Belal Muhammad. He didn't turn in a really bad performance, anything like that. So, went toe-to-toe with Khamzat Chimaev, gave him this toughest fight he had up until the Kamaru Usman fight. Things like that. We haven't seen, man, he just really crapped the bed. He did a little bit at 55. I thought he was cutting too much weight. At 170, he's been remarkably consistent. Jack Della Maddalena has had those little ups and downs that make me think, and also in the Kevin Holland fight, I don't have a ton of faith in Kevin Holland. We'll get to him in a minute. And Jack Della Maddalena kind of had an up and down performance there. That bites you against experienced guys. He's up against a very experienced guy. I'm going with Durinho. As I said, I'm picking a lot of odds here just because it seems like these are really even fights, but the odds makers don't think so. So you can get plus money on Gilbert Burns. The best you can find on fight odds is plus 145. All right, maybe you can find plus 150 somewhere. Jack Della Maddalena is doing as well as minus 170. Gotta go for that kind of money. Gotta go with Gilbert Burns. I don't see an over/under here, so I'm not going to speculate on that right now. It's probably long, which is a theme here. Kevin Holland versus Michael Venom Page. Kevin Holland, a slight favorite. You can get minus 130 at Caesars. That's the biggest odds you're going to get, but it ranges from 135, 139, plus 114 for MVP. He's the slight favorite. I don't think that's off. Once again, I don't have a ton of faith in the consistency of Kevin Holland here. I really don't. I think he's been a little inconsistent, and MVP is just a sniper. He's really, really good at finding the button. Now, can you out-grapple him? Yes. Will Kevin Holland do that? Probably not. He's one of those guys that I think, out of pride, will stand and bang with Michael Venom Page. I think he's going to bite him. This is one that I think the odds are correct. I would go MVP. Might have to bet some money to make some money, but not a huge favorite. Once again, DraftKings is plus 114 on him. What I really like here is the over is minus 180. The under is plus 140. If Michael Venom Page wins, there's a good chance he finds the button and clips him. So if you're betting MVP, you're probably betting on the under because the over-under is 2.5 rounds. Not 1.5, 2.5. So I got to go with Michael Venom Page on the under. I think that if you are betting MVP, you're probably betting he clips him on the jaw and puts him down. Well, might as well bet it and make the money if you can get plus money on it. So I'm going with Michael Venom Page. I'm going by knockout on the under. Where are we here? Dustin Poirier, Benoit Saint-Denis. Folks, what the heck when I'm looking at these odds? Benoit Saint-Denis, a 2.5 to 1 favorite depending on your book. What? DraftKings, he's minus 205. Caesars, he's minus 230. He's a huge favorite. Dustin Poirier, once again, at Caesars, you can get plus 190, almost 2 to 1 against a comparatively untested fighter. What they're betting on is that Dustin Poirier is just over the hill and is past the point of no return, and this is going to be a walkover. And I'm not saying he won't win. I'm saying at 2 to 1, are you out of your mind? You got to take Dustin Poirier. You got to take the grizzled veteran at 2 to 1. Once again, I'm letting the odds kind of, it's kind of close. 2.5 to 1 money. Gee, I think I'm going with Dustin Poirier on this one. The over is minus 238. That makes sense. But here's minus 238. And it's at 1.5. If it were 2.5, I'd go, okay, maybe Dustin Poirier wears him down round number 3 and finishes him. I think probably a third round finish would be my bet here, but that gets you in the over, which is minus 238. So I don't think it's worth betting for that amount of money on the over-under because he might finish him, Dustin Poirier. But it's probably going to be round number 3, a la Michael Chandler, wear him down, beat him up. Oh, it's really close. And then, Dustin Poirier is able to find that third gear in round number 3. So I think over at minus 238, I think that's legit. I think that's probably, it's going to be over. Can you throw a ton of money at it? It's probably not worth it. So, but Dustin Poirier at plus 170, 180, you got to go with Dustin Poirier. I think it's stupid to bet anything else. Sugar Sean O'Malley, Marlon Chito Vera. The money line is absurd. Right now I have Sugar Sean O'Malley. I'm looking at DraftKings. He's minus 278, almost a 3-1 favorite over a guy who beat him already. You can get minus 295. I'm looking at minus 280 on FanDuel. It's absurd. Caesars has him minus 300, a 3-1 favorite. What the F at those kind of odds? I'm not saying you can't sell. Sugar Sean's going to win. Sure, we can have that debate all day. Not 3-1. It's absurd. Got to go with Marlon Vera. You just got to take the money on this one. Also, the thing is about evaluating Sugar Sean O'Malley is he had a very short run to the title. The run to the title, meaning the elite guys who are really tough and will, drag you into deep water, the guys who are former champions, that's where I learn about you as a fighter. All right, that's where I decide. It's like playoff football. It's great during the regular season. Yeah, but how have you done in playoff games, hostile territory, knee-deep snow in Buffalo, all this stuff? Sean O'Malley hasn't had any of those. He had a title fight, right? Got a good shot, knocked out Aljamain Sterling. Before that, it was a disputed decision against Petr Yan. That's his body of work at the elite level. We don't have the long, tough 5-round fight that lets me know what this guy's really made of. We haven't had that. And I'm not saying he's not good, he's not great. I don't know. And to bet 3-1 on a comparatively unknown quantity like Sugar Sean O'Malley, I think defies sense. Where, yeah, 17-1, but the only fighter that he's beaten who's still in the UFC is Petr Yan. The rest have been cut. So, don't say that, oh man, he beat all these guys. If you stay at the local level, you can go 30, if you want. It's how you do against great fighters. And the loss to Marlon Vera, disputed win over Petr Yan, and a legit knockout over Aljamain Sterling. So really there's one legit victory that's undisputed that I can evaluate, and it was comparatively quick. So that is really the difficulty. And this is a guy who's never been past round 3. We really don't know what he brings to the table in a long, difficult, grueling fight. What people are betting on, probably, if you're betting on Sean O'Malley, is Marlon Vera is a slow starter. Sean O'Malley tends to be a fast starter. He clips him early and drops him. There are 2 problems with that. Number 1 is Marlon Vera tends to start slowly. He doesn't take a merciless ass whooping in round number 1. He just tends to start slowly. It's not like he gets beat up, right? Gray Maynard, Frankie Edgar style, right? He got beat up twice and ended up getting a draw and a win. He doesn't take that. He doesn't just get tattooed in round 1. He tends to start slowly. Doesn't mean he's going to get shellacked. And also, the idea that he has a questionable chin or anything like that. 8 losses. He hasn't been finished in one of them. Never been finished in his career, Marlon Vera. So, yeah, he might lose round 1, and even if he gets beat up, it doesn't mean he gets finished necessarily. Sugar Sean, a great finisher, but we don't know how he deals with the long, difficult, grueling, tough fight that a guy like Chito Vera, because he's a slow starter, tends to give you. He revs up and slowly gets going and tends to wear you down. We don't know how Sugar Sean O'Malley handles that. The under is plus 124. The over is minus 160. They have it at 4.5 rounds. That's a tough one. If it were, 2.5, I would take the over on that one. At 4.5, you're betting that it goes to a decision. That's not a bad bet, especially if you're going with Marlon Vera, who does have power but doesn't finish everybody. Yeah, you might want to take the over at minus 160. I don't see Marlon Vera with his chin getting hands put on him and it being over early. That's just where I am right now. You have to bet Marlon Vera at over 2-1 odds. If you're the biggest Sugar Sean O'Malley fan on the planet, you might parlay a quick knockout or something like that, right? So you take the under, you take Sugar Sean. That's the only way you're going to make money. So with these odds at 2-1, I just do not see any sane bet other than Marlon Vera, simply because the money line is so skewed. So that's how I see it. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I'll see you Monday to break all this down. Later.